What up, gamers? Today on Dice and Dragons, as promised, I am reviewing Big Trouble in Little China, the game. Now, for those of you wondering where Julie is, she has played the game. We're going to be working on figuring out a way to get her thoughts either included somehow at the end of the video. For those of you following our social media feeds, you'll know that she is preoccupied this evening with the most important member of our family. Well, our current family, the furry one. Well, with that being said, let's talk more about the game. Well, the game is designed by Boris Polonsky, Chris Bartalis, and Jim Sammartino. It is published by Everything Epic Games and Boom Studios. Now, the game is for 1 to 4 players, and I do like the fact that there are some, lower player counts and solo rules. And for those of you wondering why it's not up to 6 players, well, this is the retail version. You can tell by the white box. The deluxe version, which does include the upcoming expansion and the ability to play 5 to 6 players, is in a gold box. Now, the game takes about 120 minutes to play, or if you're playing with a lower player count, I think it's maybe about ½ hour per player, probably a little bit longer than that when you take into account setup and everything like that. Now, just to tell you guys about the game, it is based on the movie Big Trouble in Little China. You'll see a card popping up that will take you to our movie review for the source material. And just like the movie, your heroes are moving through Chinatown, defeating the Wing Kong, the Lords of Death, as they try to bring down the villainous David Lo Pan, who is trying to come back to life. Well, we're not going to keep you guys here anymore. We are going to move into our overview and how to play. Just so everyone knows, I really have to change my filming style for this game. The board is rather large, and as you can see from the size of the box, there are a lot of components. And while I've been able to finagle stuff with some other games, this game proved to be a little bit more challenging, so I'm doing a lot more work behind the camera. So as always here on Dice and Dragons, we're going to grab our drink, and I'm thinking about it, I'm going to say, grab your furry friend, because you know what? Jack Burton really could have used a dog, and let's get this to the table. Keep it right here. Now, for those of you just joining us, you're probably wondering where's the components overview. Well, as you can see, the screen is full. Each character comes with a lot of content, and we haven't even got to the enemies yet. And because of the size of the game and the way that we have been doing our filming in the past, just doesn't really work for this. So we're combining the components overview with sort of the other aspects that we do, such as the characters overview. So let's take a look at what we get for our 2 heroes. And as it's Big Trouble in Little China, and for those of you that watch the movie review, the movie opens with Jack Burton and Wang Chi. So that's where we're going to start. Now, we do get our miniatures, 1 Jack Burton and 1 Wang Chi mini. So each character will have their miniatures. We have the special ability token right here that once it is flipped over, it will signify that the special ability has been spent. We have the level up tokens right here. You'll see that we have them for each character, and you might wonder why it goes from 2 to 4. Well, they are double-sided, as you can see. I actually flipped it the wrong way. So when you flip it over, you would see level 5. Now, the way these level up tokens work is that they tell you what you can get. This symbol here is to either add a card or make a card epic, and I'll explain that in a second. And if you look at level 5, you can see there's the die. So you can get an extra die to use, and that'll make more sense once we get into how to play the game. Now, each character has their own special ability. They also have a co-op ability. Now, the co-op ability needs to be used in conjunction with other characters. Now, if you're going to be using the co-op ability, you're not able to use your special ability. At the start of the game, you're going to make a choice. Now, the one thing I do want to highlight about both of these characters here is Jack is sort of your all-around character, has some great offense, some very good defense. Wang, as we've seen in the movie, and this is just my opinion, but it seems to be reflected by other people I've played the game with, Wang seems to be the most powerful character. Once he gets going, he is going to be your strongest combatant. His defense gets very strong, and it's very thematic to the movie, but it's also maybe a little bit imbalanced. But what I do like, and when we take a look at the other characters, you'll see everyone does their things a little bit differently. Now you'll see on the character boards, we have these outlined areas. Now the outlined areas mean that when you place a die in the highlighted area, you actually get access to an epic die. Now an epic die is a better die than a standard die. When we take a closer look at all the dies in the game, because there are quite a few, it'll make a little bit more sense, but essentially you have a better chance to complete your skill check and a better chance to do more damage. Now we talked about leveling up. Let's take a quick look at some of the characters' ability cards. Now when you start the game, you get to pick an ability, so each character can start with one ability, and each ability has the regular side and then their epic side, which is their upgraded side. And that's a little tricky. We'll just hold it up so you can see it a little bit better. As you can see, for example, the CB radio defense goes to +1 epic die instead of a regular die. Now each time you level up, you'll have a choice of either adding a new card, depending on the level, adding a die, or turning an ability epic. And turning stuff epic can be very good. Now we'll take a quick look at Wang's cards, but as you can see, for example, he's got just regular combat. When you flip his sword, make it epic, it gains the bullet symbol, which means range. We'll go over all of that stuff a little bit more as we get into how to play the game, but just wanted to show you that right now. Each character has 2 quest tokens for their main quests, and each character has 2 quests. Now during gameplay, only one is going to show up. You're going to be, when the quest shows up, you'll use one of these markers, the quest markers as you can see here, to signify where the quest starts, and then once it's active, you'll flip it over to say that it's been activated and you're in the process of completing it. The secondary marker can either be used to mark the next location and mark where the original location was, or just in case you happen to lose a marker. When we've played, we've just moved the markers around the board. And you'll notice here that each character has 2 reward cards. Now each reward is related to the quest that they're trying to accomplish. Now I don't want to show what the rewards are. It's a little fun for you guys to find out as you're going to go through the game, but I wanted to just highlight that each quest comes with a very strong reward, and if you want an easier time of beating David Lopan, well, you're going to want to get those main quests done, and they should be your priority. Now we're going to move on to the next 2 characters, and we'll take a look at their components. Probably won't spend as much time. We'll do it a little bit quicker, and then after we go through all of the hero characters, we'll take a look at the villains. Keep it right here. Now we're going to take a closer look at Gracie Law and Egg Shen. Now as you can see, we've got the 2 hero boards, just like we have with Jack and Wang Chi. Now I'm not going to spend too much time recapping some stuff that we saw with the other 2 characters, but we're going to review their components anyway. Now you'll see they also have the level up markers. This time I did change it so you can see the difference with level 3, 5, and 6 plus compared to level 2 and 4, what the rewards that you can get. Now let's take a look at Gracie's ability cards. And as you can see, Gracie has a fair good amount of combat and defensive cards, like Gracie's Law or Bat, which when you actually flip it over to Epic, gives you combat and defense die +1 and gain 1 additional success on defense rolls. It's very nice. With Gracie's Spear, she can get ranged. And then you also notice she has some stuff to boost for skill checks, which I really do like. And the reason why I'm showing this is because, like I said earlier, not all characters play the same. And this is pretty cool because you can spend any die, and then once per round, pick a space in line of sight and immediately move minions in that space 1 space towards Gracie. Which is kind of cool. You can actually get people in range. Now Gracie is another all-around character, whereas Wang is definitely your more combat character. Jack has some cool abilities, but still is primarily the tough guy combat character. Gracie's got a solid amount of combat and some, I would say minion and enemy manipulation abilities and ways to help heroes with their skill checks. Once again, we've got the special ability. Now this can only be used once per part, or the co-op ability, and you would pick which one you wanted to use depending on how you're planning on playing the game. And you can only either have the co-op ability or the special ability. Just to reiterate, once again, we've got the special ability tokens for each character. and the 2 rewards. So depending on the quest that you complete, you will receive one of these 2 rewards. And we'll keep it secret. One thing I do want to highlight here is you'll notice that there is the quest Liberation, there is the main quest, and then there's the B version of the quest. Now, when you are going through the quest book, depending on the choice you make, you may swap out this card and actually take on quest B, a different version. So that does add some replayability to the game, but it is very different ways of completing each quest. So keep that in mind as you make your decisions, as you're working towards beating David Lopan in Chinatown. Now we'll take a look at Egg Shen. Once again, level up tokens. We'll look at Egg's abilities. Now Egg is a little bit more of a support character. He's got some very strong defense, as you can see with his mirror fan. He has some ways to stun minions to keep them from attacking. He can get range with his 6 demon bag, has the ability to re-roll misses. That's what the demon head means, it's misses. And then once you level him up, he gets even more powerful. His 6 demon bag gains range and an epic die. So what I would say about Egg is that he has the potential to be a very strong combat character. He can also be used in a support role. It's really going to depend on the roll of your dice. So build Egg up accordingly, depending on how you see him fitting with the overall strategy that your team of heroes is going to be taking going forward. We have his 2 rewards, as we have with Gracie, plus his 2 main quests. And you notice that his quests do not have an A or a B version. Now that we've taken a look at Gracie Law and Egg Shen, we're going to move on to our last 2 heroes, and then we'll be taking a look at the villains. So keep it right here. And we've arrived at our last 2 heroes, Eddie Lee and Margot Litzenberger. Now we've got their character boards with, once again, the outlined areas for the epic die, the level up tokens, and I've just organized them a little bit differently, but as you can see, once again, it's levels 2 all the way up to 6. The special ability tokens, and then once again, we've got our special ability or co-op ability, depending on how you're planning on playing the game. We have the quest cards, and I didn't highlight this with Wang and Jack. Eddie has a B version of his Rise of the Chang Sing quest, and also just so you know that Jack Burton and Wang Chi do have B versions of some of their quests. I think it's for Wang it's both, and with regards to Jack it's just for one. We also once again have the quest tokens, and of course the rewards. And they see Eddie's 2 rewards. And we'll take a look at Eddie's abilities, just a quick glance. As you get into diving into play of the game, it'll be up to you to decide. But Eddie plays very differently, I would say, than a lot of the other characters. So you can see he starts off with a very strong potential combat card with the Magnum. He has another very good combat card with the classic Knuckles. When attacking minions, they have -1 to defense, which is very good. But Eddie also has these 2 cards which really change him up. For example, with Man Around Town, he's going to be better able to pass skill checks. Also, once again, skill check +1 and a nice epic defense die, which can be very good. Then he has his street connections, which means he's able to move around easier on the streets. And as you level up, he'll get defense +1, and then he also still has his ability. Now, the interesting thing about Eddie's cards is that depending on how things go when you set up for part 2 of the game, there are no street spaces, so you will not be getting any benefit from that. That's why when the card is in epic mode, it does give you another benefit. Actually, I'll just bring it up once again so that you guys can see it. You do get the +1 defense die. But it makes Eddie a very different kind of hero, where maybe you don't want to take his combat abilities right at the start of the game. You want to start working with his street connections and stuff that is going to let you actually have an easier time of completing the game. Now let's take a look at Margot. So we've seen it, character board, her 2 quests, no B versions on those. The reward. And you can actually see one of the rewards out there because Margot plays very different than anyone else, and one quest will give you the Demon Bride. Now you may be wondering why Margot gets Demon Bride and gets this special card. Now let's take a look at Margot's abilities. As you can see, right now, there is nothing that's going to be boosting her combat. Margot plays very differently. For example, with her big scoop, she gains 1 T for each action dice used towards a task action, giving her the ability to level up quickly by completing different actions on the board other than combat, which I find to be very interesting. She can also just get rid of minions on the board by spending a mind dice. And once again, we'll explain the dice a little bit more as we talk about how to play. And then as you can see, other than that, it's primarily defense related abilities. And for example, Margot does not take evasion damage from enemies. We'll talk more about evasion in the how to play. And even as you make things epic, you notice she still doesn't get any combat abilities, and that's where Demon Bride comes in. Now, Demon Bride gives Margot the ability to gain +2 epic combat die. She can also not perform any task actions or skill checks until she changes back. Now, like I was saying, depending on how the second phase of the game works out, you may or may not be completing skill checks, and combat might be more of a focus. So far, when we've gone to the second phase of the game, been a lot more combat than skill checks. And once again, we've got the miniatures, and actually, oops, I had these a little bit backwards. Not a big deal. We've got Eddie Lee right here and Margot Litzenberger. Sorry that I got those mixed up. And from now, we're going to move into the villains, and then we'll take a look at some of the cards and talk to you guys a little bit more about the game before we get into the setup. Now, stay with us. We'll be right back. Now let's take a look at the main villains for Big Trouble in Little China. We of course have the Wild Man, that crazy servant who's become sort of a little bit of a mascot for Big Trouble in Little China. The 3 storms starting with thunder, rain, and lightning. And of course, David Lo Pan. Now each character has a miniature. You can see right here, there's the Wild Man. We've got our boy Thunder, Rain with his 2 swords, and I'm covering his face. I'll grab it from the bottom. And then finally, of course, Lightning, which has to be one of my favorite miniatures. I love the fact that he's holding the lightning bolt. Now, one thing I do want to highlight about David Lo Pan is that he's got 2 forms. The ghost form, and then his made flesh form. Those of you that are familiar with the movie will understand why. So you essentially have to beat David Lo Pan twice. Now when you are setting up the game, there is going to be a boss quest related to one of the 3 storms, and you'll see each storm has a quest. When the heroes complete that main quest, they will gain one of the 3 rewards related to the villains. Now to talk about the villains, each villain has a special ability, and that will trigger potentially at the end of the round. So for example, with Lightning, it's Meltdown. At the end of each round, each hero in line of sight of Lightning will take 1 damage. With regards to Rain, when Rain is defeated, he summons Acid Rain in each hero in the same zone, meaning if you've in the same zone will take 3 damage, and that's not very pleasant. With regards to the Wild Man, it's Hellbound. The hero who defeated Wild Man gains a new Hell card, discarding any other Hell card they might have, which is not potentially fun, but at least it gets rid of your old Hell card. Now we'll talk more about the Hell cards as we take a look at the components. Some Hells aren't that bad, some can be quite debilitating. With regards to Thunder, his special ability is Big Bang, which means if Thunder has only 1 health at the end of the round, he explodes, and each hero in the same zone of him will take 5 damage, which is something that you really don't want to have happen. And we'll talk more about zones and everything when we take a look at the game board itself. Now let's take a look lastly at Mr. David Lo Pan. We'll start out with his ghost form. Now you see his attack roll is his special ability here. And depending on what is rolled, different things are going to happen. You will see his health here as the same as all of the other main villains. As he takes a hit, You'll see right here, this is what you need to roll to hit, which is 6. His health will go down. Once you've hit him to this point, you do 1 more damage. He gets down here. You flip it over. He's made flesh. And then you will resolve this part first and then continue with fighting him. You'll notice that he doesn't have any special abilities necessarily like the other ones. And as we're looking at the villains, it's actually a good thing to talk about their hit, strike back, and their defense. Let's take a look at lightning. You see, when you roll 5, you need to roll 5 or more to equal or succeed their defense. At that point, you score a hit, which would be 1 damage to them. You gain 4 chi per hit. And then each villain has a strike back action, meaning a hero that's in the same space as them, so that would mean melee, they would then take 3 damage unless they defeated the villain. Now, strike backs are very important, specifically on the main villains more so than the weaker ones. But it's important to note that if you fail in an attack or if the villain does not die, the strike back action will trigger. Now that we've taken a look at the main villains, let's move on to the minions, and then we'll start taking a look at the game board. Keep it right here. Now we're going to take a quick look at the minions. We already looked at the big bad guys. Let's take a look at the guys that you're going to be beating up on a lot more regularly. Now, what you'll see is that each minion has a regular card and a hard mode card. Now, depending on the setup that you're doing, whether you're playing hard or the director's cut version, that's going to affect the amount of hard minion cards that you will have. As you'll see, each minion has a strike back ability. So depending on if you're in a situation that will trigger their strike back, you can then also see their movement and the amount of damage that they do. Now, one thing that it's important to note, and I'll pick up the Wing Kong Hatchet Man here, is that the damage that they do is going to be automatic. You will see right here their movement, and then the type of damage, which is 3 melee damage. When you look at something like the Wing Kong 6 shooters, you'll notice it's 1 movement, but it's 4 range damage. Now we'll talk about line of sight and how range works, but it's important to note what you're fighting. And for example, here the security guards, you'll see 2 movement, 4 damage. Now we'll just take a quick look at the differences in their cards. Let's look at the Spirit Path Warrior. You'll notice that right here, it's 1 movement, 5 melee damage. You need 6 defense, so 6 to hit, 5 chi, and a strike back of 4, and move your hero 1 space away. When you look at the hard version, it's still 6, luckily. It's 1 movement, it goes up to 7 damage though. Strike back goes up to 5, and the amount of chi for defeating them is 6. We'll look quickly at the Hatchet Man because it provides a good example. You'll see in normal, it's 3 defense. For the hard one, it is 4 defense. What it is important to note is that 1 hit will kill a minion. So you only need to hit them 1 time and then they are off the board. Whereas with bosses, you need to hit them multiple times. And just a quick reminder, because I realized as we were looking at the villains, I didn't show it. If you look at the villains, their abilities in terms of movement and damage are listed at the top. So for example, lightning is 3 movement, 7 range damage. Don't want to limit your guys if possible. Now when a villain, well not a villain, villain or minion actually does damage, your hero will then roll their defense die and they will subtract the number of successes from the total amount of damage. It is very rare that you're going to be rolling damage for the minions. There's only a couple of cases, as you can see with the Wing Kong 6 shooter, their strike back ability. This one will require you to roll, as well as the Guardian has a strike back ability that will require you to roll. And then down here's a table that will tell you what occurs depending on how you rolled. Now that we've covered the minions, let's take a closer look at the other cards that we have in the game. Then we'll take a closer look at the dice and finally start setting up the board after we take a quick look at it. So keep it right here. We're coming right back. Now we're going to take a look at the other cards that come in Big Trouble and Little China. Now the first one we're going to look at is your nice handy reference card, which will explain the normal versus epic dice actions, what actions are available as free actions. Then you also have the player aid, which just reminds you the instructions for the hero phase and the villain phase. It reiterates your hero turn and explains Act 1 and Act 2. It's good to have, it's very useful. You may be wondering why I've got some tokens right here. Well, these are the side quest tokens, and they're used to denote where a side quest is. Now we have this nice stack of different side quest cards. As you can see, they take place at different locations. For example, there's one, the Wing Kong Trading Company. It tells you which space it starts on and where a crate will spawn. You can also have things at the Jade Panda, the White Tiger, and Gracie's Pad, for example. Now I wanted to take a quick closer look at the side quests. It'll help me just explain a little bit what type of actions we have. Now when you trigger a side quest, different things will happen. Now this one, National Union Bank, will trigger a combat side quest. It tells you what you're going to be facing in combat, and then what happens if you do happen to succeed. Now, if you look at this one, is it getting hot in here? It's actually a skill check, meaning instead of making a fight, you're going to perform a skill check. You need to get 4 or more successes to pass. If you fail, there can be a negative consequence. And then the other one that you can see right there, and I apologize for the glare a little bit, is what's known as hollow. And hollow actually is what they call a task action, meaning you need to place a die aside for mind or body in order to succeed. Now what's important to note is on side quests, and when you have any actions like this, any hero can participate and spend a die, and their success will be tracked by placing one of these little check, or sorry, I dropped it, but the check or the X tokens on the proper location on the card, just to help you keep track. We have the companion cards right here, and the companion cards will only show up if you're playing at less than 4 players. So if it's a 3-player game, there will be 1 companion, 2-player 2, and then 1 player, you get 3 companions. What they do is they give you an extra effect based on the companion you've picked, and a special ability that can be used once during Act 1. When it's flipped over, it's spent. It will refresh like other special abilities during Act 2. Here we have the Hell deck, and whenever a hero dies, they don't actually die, they gain a Hell card. And some Hells are very bad, some are just okay. But let's give you an example of what a very bad one would be. So the Hell of Insanity, you are not able to use any mind dice, meaning that just gets rid of an entire pool of dice. Hell of Boiling Oil gives you an effect of lose 1 health at the start of every round. That can be annoying, but it isn't too bad because it can be mitigated. Now, the Hell of the Bronze Toaster, if you end your turn anywhere but the streets, lose 2 health. And this is one that's just more annoying, for example. It's very easy to mitigate at a certain part of the game when you do have streets locations. However, if you still have that going into Act 2 where there are no more streets locations, it can be very bad. And there are ways to get rid of Hell cards, which we'll talk about when we take a closer look at the game board. Here we have the Big Trouble cards, which you're going to be drawing at the start of every turn. And there are different aspects to the Big Trouble cards. There is a track on the game board which will show you this is the amount of trouble that's created and how closer Lopan is getting to his goal. You have an effect. For example, on this one, each hero inside or adjacent to the Dragon of the Blackpool restaurant loses 4 health. Then depending on the number of players, you will spawn the following. At 1 to 2 players, it's 1 Wing Kong Hatchetman. At 3 to 4 players, it'd be the Wing Kong Hatchetman and the Lord of Death. If you're doing the director's cut, it's all 3 of these that will spawn, and their spawn location is listed as S16. Now you can see the cards do very much differ. In the case of this Big Trouble card, it's actually 3. The effect is actually positive for the heroes. Remove all security guards from street spaces, and you will once again spawn the required minions at the location that is listed. Now the final set of cards we have are the Act 2 Showdown setup cards, and depending on how the Act 2 is triggered, whether it's the Audacity track, which we'll talk about later on, or the Big Trouble track, you will follow the instructions on this card here. And then depending on the quest you completed, for example, bringing home the bacon, it will tell you where the hero starts and where the enemies spawn and what quest effect there is. If it's incomplete, you will start at a different location with different things that occur. And as you can see, each quest has a complete or incomplete. Now when you're going to do the Act 2 Showdown setup, I'll talk a little bit more about it as we actually get it all set up for you. But the cards that are going to be included are only related to the quests that you had available. Now that we've gone through all the cards, let's take a quick look at some of the different tokens and some of the items you can acquire in the game. And then we're going to take a look at the game board and start setting up. Keep it right here. We're coming back shortly. Now we're going to take a look at the components. Not the components. Scrap that. Restarting in 3, 2, 1. Second clap. Now we're going to take a look at the tokens that come with Big Trouble in Little China, and as well as the rulebook and the quest book. Now we'll start out with the quest book. As you can see, it's nice and thick. It's only one-sided, and it contains all of the information that you need for the different main quests in the game. You will not find any information for side quests in the quest book. The rulebook has everything you need to get set up. The one part I really want to highlight is once again the quick reference guide on the back. For example, you got level up rewards, the shop and crate items. I'm not going to explain what each of the different shop items do. You can see the orange ones right here and what they do on the rulebook. Then you've got the different crate items, which as you can see can be good and bad. Then also, of course, a quick reference for the dies and as well as the hero and enemy phase. And you also have your nice quick player aid cards for that. Here we have some of the Act 2 tokens. The Sewer Monster, Demon Token, Lava Token, and Rebel. Now you're probably wondering what these little arrows are. Well, these little arrows are related to the main quests, and you'll use them. Sorry, I kept this a little bit too far off screen, but just to track where you are during your quest. And that's what they are for. Now we've got these couple of pegs here. The blue one is to track your chi for your hero. Red is for your hero's health. The black one is to track the villain's health. So I'll just pick it up. Looks exactly the same as the other ones. We've got the Audacity token right here, which keeps track of our hero's progress and how successful they are at foiling low pan schemes. Here we've got the Big Trouble track marker, which shows us how successful low pan is at completing his schemes. Once again, these are the shop items. There are 6 of them. You can find out what they do on the back. And of course, we have to have the Pork Chop Express. Now this is a special quest reward, so you will not be able to get the Pork Chop Express without completing a main quest. And here are the crate tokens. As you said, some of them can be bad, like the +1 Lord of Death, which spawns 1 on your space. Or you get something very good like Get Out of Hell Free, which you can save and use at a later time. Now that we've reviewed the tokens and the 2 books that you get with Big Trouble in Little China, let's take a look at the dice, just to make sure you know what the different dice are and also understand the fate dice. And then we'll move on to the game board itself and start setting up the game. Keep it right here. Now we're taking a look at the dice and the fate track. The reason why the fate track is out here is because it works with the 6 fate die, and I will actually explain that, but let's take a look at the other die first so we can make some room. Now we've got our regular skill die. I just brought out 2 of them here. As you can see, they often give you 1 success. There is the demon, which is the miss, and it maxes out at 2. Now with regards to the epic skill die, you'll notice that there is a 3 and a 2, and there's actually more options for 2s. There's a 2 here, as well as a 2 here, and you still have the demon. Now the reason why you want to use the epic skill die is because you have more chances at more success. Very straightforward. Here you can see the action die, which the heroes will roll to determine what kind of actions that they can take, and these will be placed in the hero boards. It'll be a lot clearer when we go into how to play because I will explain it. Now we'll take a look at the fate die, so I'm moving these aside, which are these 6 die right here. And the way the fate die work is you start it off, you roll them. Now one time on your turn, a hero may use one of these abilities. This one is wild, meaning it can be any ability on the fate die can be used. This means this is an extra 2 mind, which can be used for a task action or to gain more dice. We have the successes, for example, the 2 success, 1 success, and this is on mine, but just to show you some of the other stuff, as you can see, there is also 2 body, as well as 2 spirit. Now what happens is once you decide to take a die and spend it, there is the fate track right here. You will then roll the die and place it in the fate track, and depending on what you rolled, there may be a negative outcome. The outcome is based on what space you are at. For example, so number 1 here corresponds to number 1 here. At this point, we rolled very well. If you'll notice that all clear is the 2 spirit, mind, and body. Here we rolled the 2 mind. If we'd rolled, for example, a 1 success, it would mean we would have failed. So in this case, if we'd failed, it would have been 3 damage to our other heroes. That did not happen. Let's say we'd rolled the 1 success here, as we'd spent another die on another player's turn. This counts as a failure. It would mean your hero loses 5 chi. Now once the track is filled with the fate die, you just remove everything, re-roll it. I know I flipped that one, but it's not a big deal. And you start again with a new pool of fate die. We've finally gone through all the components, and it actually gave us a nice chance to do an overview of everything as well. We're now going to take a look at the game board, just discuss some aspects of the game board itself, and then we'll move into setting up part 1 of the game. Keep it right here. We're coming back in a flash. Now we're going to take a close-up look at the game board. I do apologize for some of the board not being visible and the glare. With the equipment I have, I'm just not able to film around it with regards to the size of the board. Now we will take a farther out look at the overall setup of the game, but I've done the basic setup right now because I want to explain to you guys how some of the stuff works and also make sure that you can see it clearly. Now I've gone ahead and placed these shop items in their locations. Now you'll notice that there's the any die symbol right there, meaning you can spend any 1 die to purchase one of these shop items. Now there is Gracie's pad, where you may spend any 1 die to regain full health. Then over here you can see the important part of the Buddha shrine, where if you spend any 1 die you can get rid of one of your hell cards. 2 die will let you get rid of any hell card, including those on other players. At the top here we have the Big Trouble track, which once this gets all the way to there, it means Lopan has completed his evil plan and we go to Act 2. We have the Audacity track, which tracks how well the heroes are doing. Depending on the number of players, you'll start at different locations and gain a different amount of starting experience. I've placed it here because I'm going to be doing a 2-player setup, and you can see the hell cards are over there and the Big Trouble cards are there at the top. Now the other thing that we need to talk about is line of sight and zones. Now zones are denoted by these red lines, meaning that these areas are different zones. So you've got the back alleys, the Dragon of the Black Pool. They are completely separate, and these red lines can block enemy movement. They're not able to necessarily move through the red lines on all occasions. They also block line of sight, so you cannot shoot through them. Now, I just want to highlight as well, like Wing Kong Trading Co. is also a zone. And the reason why I'm highlighting that zone is because there are certain effects in the game that will affect an entire zone. For this example, we're going to use Thunder. If you remember when we were talking about what happens to Thunder, if he has only 1 health left, he explodes, dealing 5 damage to all players in a zone. Well, what that means is that if Thunder explodes here in the Wing Kong Trading Co., he'll deal 5 damage to any hero that's in there. So for example, if Jack Burton's here, and let's say we had another hero that was here, well, they will both take damage. It's unfortunate for Jack that he wasn't able to escape the zone. All right, so now that we have explained zones, I want to talk to you guys about the other aspect of line of sight, which is ranged combat. So we've got a Wing Kong 6 shooter in S15. We've got Jack Burton in S3. Now, as you will see, there is an uninterrupted line of sight between the two. Even though the building sticks out over here, we don't have any red lines, meaning that the two have line of sight and are able to execute range attacks upon each other. Now, I'm going to shift the board just a little bit, because I want you guys to be able to see a couple things a little bit better. But I'll talk about the stuff that's clear for the moment. So we have the underground right here. And the underground is a crucial part of the game because you need to move around the board quickly, and that's what the underground is for. You can see the yellow opening in the black market, which will actually lead you down here, meaning that a hero can move down here and move into the underground. And you have the ability to fast travel in the underground. Now, I just want to show you the other entrances to the underground first, and then we'll talk about the fast travel. Now, we'll focus on the blue entrances, which you can see are right here in Wing Kong Trading Co. on the streets. So if you come down from these areas, you will end up here, or you can move up to either one of these areas. Now, I'm going to move the board up and over so we can see the purple. Now, you've got the purple entrance to the underground right here. Then you've got these two other locations right there that heroes may then use to get into the underground. Now, I'll center the board again, and we will use an example of fast travel. Actually, you just got to move it a little bit more. I want to make sure that you can see the yellow. So let's say, for example, Jack Burton is in Wing Kong and he needs to get all the way across to the black market. Well, Jack can move into the underground using one of his movements. And I know we haven't talked about how you move. We're going to see that in the how to play. You then roll a regular skill die. And depending on what you roll, something can happen. You can have no damage. You may take 3 damage, or you can take up to 5 damage. In this case, Jack has rolled a 1, meaning he'll take 3 damage, but he moves through the underground and is able to pop all the way out over here in the black market using a very small amount of movement points. Now, we'll talk more about the movement points and how you will spend them moving through the underground when we talk about the how to play. But I just want to go over that close-up of the board for you guys. We will do a little bit more of a zoomed out full setup. And then, as I said earlier, we will sort of zoom in on the different sections of the board as we do the how to play. And then once we show you guys how to play the game, we will show the setup for Act 2. And we won't explain too much more about Act 2, and then we'll get into a review of the game after that. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. I know it's a long video, and keep it right here. We'll be back shortly. Now, I've gone ahead and taken out some more components that I'm going to need to finish setting up Big Trouble in Little China. As you can see, I still have the Big Trouble cards and the Hell cards out on the board. The Big Trouble marker and the Audacity marker are currently on the board. Now, I've taken out both of the player boards, so I've got Jack Burton and Wang Chi. They're 3 starting dice. We have their unused abilities right now off to the side in the middle there. They're going to be starting with these ones. So for Jack, it's the Tactical Combat Gun, and for Wang, it's his Jian, his sword. Now, you'll notice that for the purposes of teaching you guys how to play, I've actually set up Jack Burton with his co-op ability and Wang Chi with his special ability. That's why Wang has a special ability token and Jack does not. He doesn't need it. We've got their 2 quest markers their miniatures. And as you can see, we've placed the level up and chi pegs. Now I know there's some stuff that's a little bit off screen. I do apologize. It's all going to be coming on screen as I complete the setup. Now we've got the quest cards stacked right here, our crates, and all of our dies. Now let's see what else we need to do for the setup. Currently this is a 2-player game, so the first thing I'm going to do is set the Audacity track to the, oh sorry, that's the 3-player position, to the 2-player position. That means that both players are going to gain 10 chi and therefore immediately level up. Now, when you level up, you will take the level up token and it will tell you what you get as a reward. So with regards to level 2, the option is to either A, add a new card. For example, we could add the Wang Fu, or for Jack, we could add something like the CB radio. Now what I'm actually going to do, because I do like the combat abilities of both of their starting cards, is we're just going to flip them over. What you're able to do is you can see right there, and we'll straighten that up, to the epic side and increase their first cards. Now as the characters are level 2, the chi gets reset back down to 0, and we've now set up the Audacity track. As this is a 2-player game, each of our heroes gets a choice of a companion. You can see the companions that are available right here. We've got Jack and Wang as well. They are going to be removed because we cannot select them. I'll just put them off camera right here. Now the choices are Eddie, Gracie, Egg, and Margot. Keep things a little bit thematic. We will have Gracie go with Jack Burton. And you know what? Let's give Wang his good buddy, Eddie, as his companion. Sorry, I put it the wrong way. And these other 2 characters we are going to put off camera with the guys that we are not currently using. Now, we've talked about the companions just a little bit. Don't forget, each companion has a special ability that you can flip and use once per part of the game. So once during part 1 and once again during part 2. It works the same as our hero's special ability. Now the next thing we need to do are the minions. So we have the hard minions, as you can see right here. And we have the easy minions. Now for the sake of the game, what you're going to do is you're going to select 2 minions to be hard when you're playing on regular difficulty. It will change depending on the difficulty that you select. In this case, I'm just going to take the top 2 off, which are the Lords of Death and the Guardian. I will remove the other hard minions from the game. And then we will remove those, so the Guardian and the Lord of Death, from the minion deck. We now have our starting villains, as you can see right here. Now, as I've got limited space, I'm just going to put the villain deck stacked here on the side. And if we're doing any combat, I will show you guys the proper villain. You can see we've got the little check markers for the quest there. We also have our starting quest deck, which is, as you can see, only 3 cards because we've got the boss quest and the 2 hero quests. Now you will set this up randomly. I selected the quest just because, and it'll be good examples for you guys when we're teaching you how to play the game. I'm going to put the starting quest deck here for the moment so you can see it. But don't worry, we're going to get everything on camera for you during the setup. Actually, what I'm going to do with the minions, just so you can see them, I'm going to put the minions across the top of the board right now with their corresponding miniatures. Spirit Path Warrior, Guardian, Hatchet Man, Lord of Death, 6-shooter, and the security guard. That's actually a better spot for them just so you guys can see them all. And it cleans up that side of the board for me right now. Like I said, when we're teaching you guys how to play, we're going to change things up and do things in a much more close-up manner. I will probably show you guys a turn just from the far-out perspective just so you can get a good grasp of going through the whole game. Now, next thing that we need to do is set the starting side quest. That's why I've taken out the 3 side quest tokens right here, and we've got the crates that we may need. And before I forget, there's all our starting dice right here. And as our heroes have a companion, each of them will gain an extra starting die. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take the quest cards and divide them up by 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're going to make 3 stacks of 7. Now, you can't actually make 3 stacks of 7. The last one will actually be 8 cards. We'll just move these check marks down here. Now what we then do is we take a look at the information presented on the side quest cards. So for the first one, it's Dragon of the Black Pool. It starts in space 3. This side quest, when it comes up, it also spawns a crate on S3. Now once a side quest has been completed, you will draw the next side quest, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Then you would follow the setup on the top of that card. We've got our starting 3 though, so the National Orient Bank starts on 1. We shall get a crate on S2, which is right up here. And the last one is the White Tiger, starts on 1, and we get a crate on S14. Now these side quests have been set up. You will do the same thing for the main quest. The only difference is with regards to the main quest is only 2 of them are active. So you'll shuffle them up. Ideally you're not looking. I'm not looking right now, even though you can't see. I put them down. I take the top one off the starting top of the deck. And you guys can't see that very well, so I will actually move him closer and just leave the rewards up there like that. So the top one, so the deck was like this. We've got Son of a Bitch, Must Pay. And then we've got the quest for the Dragon Sword. Now we're going to set up these tokens as per their card. So for Jack's one, it is the Jade Panda 2. And then we have, with regards to Wang Chi, he is at the Buddha Shrine number 1. Now once we've completed this quest, or Son of a Bitch Must Pay, the Jack Burton quest, the last quest, the boss quest, will then be in play and able to be completed. Now we've done just about everything that we need to do with regards to the setup, except for the last thing, which is going to be the Fate die. And I'm going to roll it on the board so that everyone can see easily. Take it out. You can hear it rolling the dice. We've got our 6 Fate die. I shall put them near the Fate board with the symbols that can be used. Now, just a reminder with regards to the Fate die, if you're going to be spending things like the 2 mind right here, if you're going to use that ability, you have to use it before you roll. If you're rolling a skill check, or if you happen to be trying to get more die, you have to do it before, not afterwards. We then also have, just off to the side, the 2 arrows to mark where we are at during our main quest. And it's done. We've set up the game Big Trouble in Little China. We will cut right now, and what I'm going to do is I'll take you through just sort of the starting turn for the players. And I did forget something. The players start on 1 in the Dragon of the Black Pool restaurant. So that's where they start. And the first thing we're going to do is actually draw a Big Trouble track. Not a Big Trouble track, a Big Trouble card. Now I'm going to take you guys to the first turn of the game from this far out distance, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty with regards to how to play. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. I know it's a big game and it's turning into a long video, but I really wanted to go through all the details to make this a great experience for you. So keep it right here. We'll be right back. Now let's take you through the first turn of Big Trouble in Little China and complete the setup. So the first thing we do is we draw a Big Trouble card. Now, on the first Big Trouble card, we ignore the Big Trouble symbol up there, so we do not move the Big Trouble track. We ignore the effect, and then we just go through with the spawn. So at this point, it's 1 to 2. It's one Wing Kong 6-shooter on S14. So that is what we're going to set up. We don't need to keep the card. We essentially discard it, so I'll remove it from our play area. We will place the Wing Kong 6-shooter on S14. Now when it comes to the heroes, this is a cooperative game. So the heroes get to decide who goes first each turn, and then you move clockwise around the board from the starting hero. What I really want to show you guys is primarily movement and potentially how you would purchase some items. And to do that, let's start with Wang. I like the idea. We will roll the die. We will then take the die and place them on the board. We have rolled 3 mine die, meaning Wang has 1 epic slot from mine and 1 epic slot from body. Now with regards to movement, if you spend a regular die spot, you are able to move 2. If you spend an epic slot, you are able to move 3. Now don't forget there are free actions that you can take as well. For example, if you stop in a space with a crate, you can pick it up as a free action. So what would Wang want to do? Well, the best thing for him to do would actually be to start his own quest. We need to get that going as soon as possible. But as this is the first turn on the board, I really just want to show you guys more about like how you would play. So the first thing we'll do is he will spend his mine die, his regular die slot, to move 2. 1, 2. To purchase an item, it will cost any die. He will purchase an item spending another die. We will take the fortune cookie, which is then added into his inventory. And as we need to get going with his main quest, we will spend one of the epic die slots to move 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any dies left after we move in to start Wang's quest. But we'll get him to that space anyway. We will spend the epic die slot. We'll move only 1. Now, as a free action, Wang can start his quest. And just to give you guys an example of what would happen, you would flip over the quest card, which is called 3.1, as you can see. Mystical Monk Misha. And then we will read that part of the quest book. What I'm going to do though is I am going to complete showing you guys what Jack is going to do and go through the enemy phase. And then I'll come back and we'll take a closer look at what's going to happen with Wang's main quest, as we'll take a look at the quest book itself. But that's how you would start the quest. You flip this over to mark that it is now active, and you would then read the quest and follow the instructions. So we'll pretend that we've done that. Let's take a look at Jack Burton's turn. I'd like to teach you guys some more. We will have Jack roll his die. Ooh, a whole lot of spirit, which gives us 2 epic die slots and 1 mind. Now let's say Jack really likes the idea of picking up that crate that's out there. He would spend 1 regular die, only be able to move 1 because he's going to pick up the crate, which would then get him the lucky coin. Now that's not necessarily the smartest thing that Jack could do. I'll actually put that back because there's a crate up here, and it's better to fully maximize the usage of our die. And move 2, we'll pick up this crate, which is Egg's Remedy as a free action. So that was with only 1 die, the mine die. Now let's take a look at a side quest. We will then go ahead and spend the next spirit die to move 1, 2. We are now in the side quest space. And As there are no enemies, I'm able to activate the side quests. It's the same thing with the main quests. You can only trigger them when there are no enemies apparent. Now this is the National Orient Bank. We will flip over the quest card and I'll take a look at it with you guys. From Gracie's apartment, you have seen a lot of recent suspicious activity at the bank, so you decide to take a closer look. Unfortunately, the bank security officers did not take kindly to your loitering and tried to forcibly remove you. You would have left peacefully, but hey, they should have asked nicer. So now it's combat. It's a combat quest. We shall spawn 3 security guards on National Orient Bank 2. Now, I will get this quest set up as well. Just give me a second to get the miniatures out for this. But after Jack is still able to engage in combat, which is good because he still has his 2 epic dies. Now, it's not necessarily the best situation because we've got 3 security guards and only 2 die, so 2 chances to defeat them. Now, we'll take a quick look at combat. It's not going to be up close. It's not going to be the best look at combat, but you know what? We're going through this first turn and this opportunity presented itself, so let's see what happens. Now, ideally, I'm going to want to try to kill 2 of these security guards, which means taking some risks. And what we'll then do is we'll spend 1 of the epic die to get 1 epic die to roll. We'll then take 2 regular skill die, and we'll go ahead and we will make our roll. Oof, 2 demons and a 1. This is just an atrocious roll. There really isn't much that we can do at this point. Now don't forget we still have our fate die, and we can only spend 1 per turn. Now may not be the best time. We'll spend the other spirit die. I'll just clean that up. And let's give this another try to see if we can score a hit. Whew. That was a good one. So it's a total of 6. It's a killer roll. Now, unfortunately, we cannot hit more than 1 of the enemies. The way this works is we only hit 1 enemy per roll unless we have an item or special ability. We have now defeated 1 of the security guards. They disappear. They're now off camera. Jack shall gain 4 chi, I believe. Yeah, it's 4 chi for the security guards. And that would be the end of his turn unless I decide to use 1 of the fate die, which is something I'm not going to do right now. What we'll do is we'll take a look at the fate die and when we take a little bit closer look at the game board. So now we're going to move into the enemy phase. Now we'll take a look at the security guards. So with regards to the security guards, they move 2 and deal 4 damage. And as you notice, it's a bullet. This means that they deal range damage. You notice that there is a strike back action right here. As Jack performed a ranged attack with his pistol, it did not trigger the strike back action. All right, so the security guards, each of them is going to deal 4 damage to Jack Burton. But Jack does get his defensive roll first. And you can see his defense on his sheet right there, which is his epic die and a regular die. We also get +1 success on all defense rolls, so we're automatically blocking 1 damage because of Gracie. We'll make the roll. We rolled a whopping 5, as you guys can see. It's 5, no damage for Jack. Now, what we'll go ahead and do is we'll roll for the second security guard. Oof. We rolled a demon, so a miss, and a 2 though, which is still fairly good, meaning with regards to all of that, we've only taken 1 damage. The security guards are not going to move because they're ranged. Or you know what, they potentially could, because that actually would allow them to trigger their strike back action. And on the enemy's phase, they're able to move and attack. This means now that if Jack happens to miss because they're in the same space as him, they get the opportunity to strike back, which makes them that much more annoying. We then have the Wing Kong Hatchet Man, which can move sorry, it's the 6 shooter. You can only move 1. So he moves from space S14 to S15. And that is the end of our full first turn in Big Trouble in Little China. We're now going to move some of the stuff around. We're going to take a closer look at things like combat, as well as doing the underground movement. I want to just zero in on that and maybe even show you guys some of the an example of a boss fight. But you've seen one full turn. You guys get an idea of how you're going to play the game, and keep it right here. We'll be right back with some close-ups and more details on how to play. All right, guys, and we're back. Oh, that was not good. 3, 2, 1, go. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. And even though I showed you how the enemy phase would work, don't forget we're taking a look at Wang Chi's main quest. For that, we're going to need our Big Trouble in Little China quest book, and we need to flip to 3.1, as we can see on the quest card. For the purposes of this, I'm going to get the quest card in view. We'll just cover up Wang right there, but it'll give you the idea that you need. And so if this was still turn 1, which it is in this case, we're going to read 3.1, Mystical Monk Misha. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but only a minor one. I'll read it out. I'll keep the book out here just so you guys can see a little bit of what it looks like. There's an old Chinese saying about days like this, when it rains, lightning, and thunder are not far behind. And that's exactly how it's been. First I lose a ton of money to Jack, then Miao Yin is captured, and now I'm stepping right in the middle of a turf war. I thought visiting the mystical monks would help get my mind and my spirit back in balance, but things here are just as bad. My mind and my spirit are going north and south. What should I do? Arriving to the Buddha shrine, you discover a pack of Wing Kong roughing up an old monk, ransacking the place. On the one hand, you want to stop the monk from getting hurt, but you know that the others will get away with whatever they've stolen. There's no time to lose. Choice A, chase some of the Wing Kong out the back. Or choice B, save the old monk from the remaining Wing Kong and stop reading. Now, you'll notice right here it says switch to quest card B. That means there is a secondary quest card that you can switch to. I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to highlight it. To keep things simple, we'll have selected choice A, which says then immediately move active hero to streets S4 and continue reading 3.2. Now, I'll put the book aside here quickly. We will set it to 3.2. We shall move to S4 and continue with the quest. I've picked back up the quest book, and that is 3.2. So the Buddha shrine is sacred, and I'm not going to let a pack of Wing Kong fools get away with what they've done. But where did they go? To the crowded streets or the sink of the sewers? Of all the places to run to, when I catch those thugs, they're really going to pay. The old monk looks like he'll be okay, so you race after the thieves to recover the shrine's stolen property. You're gaining ground, but the thugs are staying one step ahead. As you move off to the shrine grounds and back in the city, the trail goes cold. So you have choice A, ask some Chang Sing friends to help. Skill checks 3. Choice B, use your sleuthing skills to sniff out where the Wing Kong went, and skill check of 5. Now, as you'll notice, you need to stop reading. Don't look at this part. Now it's a little hard, but typically anything that's harder is going to give you a better reward, but there are sometimes negative consequences to failing a quest. So this is how we would have set up Wang's quest. So you've taken a look right now at the main quest. What I'm going to then do is we're going to cut right here. I'm going to leave things as they are though, because I just want to do this in a little bit more manageable chunks. And then we'll review the second turn and focus in on what would happen to Wang during his turn. So keep it right here. Now we're going to take a look at Wang's quest, but just to keep giving you guys an idea of how to play, let's make sure that we actually start the second turn, which would be with a new Big Trouble card. Now with the new Big Trouble card, it's death on every corner. We're lucky there's no effect. And the Big Trouble track goes up 2. I don't want to bore you guys really by reading everything, but as I'm going to get the minis out and set them up, I don't know if they'll be visible on the camera, but I'll do it anyway. I'll read. The Lords of Death are running amok around the streets of Chinatown, harassing everyone and everything in their path. They're really getting in the way, even stopping traffic. What are they up to? So because of this Big Trouble card, we need to spawn 3 Lords of Death. Now the Lords of Death are going to be spawning on S8, which I do believe, even in this close-up, is still on camera. It is. It's just a little crowded. They actually would be right here. We'll just slide Wang over a little bit, give them enough room. All right, now I know it's not the cleanest, but that's what it says to do. We only spawn the 3 of them because of 1 to 2 players. And now we remove this card. Now, obviously, since I'm focused in on Wang and his situation, we're going to see what he's going to do during his turn. Now, the reason why I spawned the Wing Kong is because having things like skill checks and enemies near us is really going to affect the decisions that we make with regards to completing our main quest. Now, first thing that we can do is roll his die. All right. We have, once again, a ton of spirit die and a mind die. Now, Wang's got some solid defense, as you can see right here, so he's not in that much danger. And we need to roll a skill check of 5. That means 5 or higher to pass it, or a skill check of 3 to continue on with the main quest. Now, I'm going to put the quest token out here. You don't necessarily have to. It's good to keep it out there just to keep track of what's going on and where the quest location is. Now, skill checks can be fairly difficult. And I'm wondering if we should not look at using a special ability. What does our companion have? Well, we take a look at our companion. Eddie's special ability is to flip this card to auto-pass any task action. Unfortunately, this action is a skill check and not a task action. And I just slid the card by, but take a look at Wang's special ability. My mind and spirit are 1. At the end of Wang's turn, you may flip your special ability token and take another turn to reroll all the action dice and get a new turn. Well, we've got some Wing Kong next to us, and we really do want to pass this skill check. Now, we also do have the Fate track and the Fate die. And if we do happen to need those, I will bring them into view. So the first thing we're going to do is let's try to pass this check with 3 dice. So that's 2 epic and a regular. And we shall see what we get. Let's roll it on camera here. And what do you know? We actually rolled a very nice 7, successfully passing the skill check and not needing necessarily a special ability. Now that we've passed the skill check, we will take a look at the quest book, quest 3.2, and continue on. So we will read pass. The Wing Kong thugs attempt to escape into the sewers unseen, but you're onto their tricks and follow them into the darkness. Reward +1 audacity, which is great. We get to move the track up. We did not fail, which is good because it would be -4 health. And it says place a quest token on Underground 1. Once triggered, read 3.3. Now, I will take this quest token, we'll get rid of the book, we will move it into Underground 1. We will slide our quest track down to 3.3. And we'll actually talk about the Underground and give you guys a close-up of what it would look like. But we'll continue with Wang's part of the turn because it's gotten fairly interesting now. We still have a die, so we can move. We can potentially escape these Lords of Death, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And the Lords of Death movement is 3 though, so they would be able to follow us actually. They can't necessarily get into the underground. I may have to double check that rule, but they can definitely follow us, which is not the greatest, but you know what? Let's run away. Even though being aggressive can be very good at this point, we don't need to take the chance beating up on these guys. Even if we killed all of them, well, that only give us 9 chi, wouldn't even give us a full level. Now let's spend our action die and let's keep focus on the quest. So we'll move 1, we are then able to go down. As we're just moving down, it is U1. So technically we still have another movement. We could move over to U2. That's not what we want to do. There are no enemies. We can actually continue on with our quest. So this is actually going very well for Wang here. We'll activate the quest and read 3.3. Ugh, what smells just like... Keep it together, Wang. Miaoyin's life depends on it. Unfortunately, your attempts at being a sleuth fell flat and the Wing Kong have you surrounded. So, we're now into a combat section of a quest, and you can see on the main quest card that typically details combat. So we shall spawn 2 Lords of Death on Underground U3 and 2 Wing Kong Hatchetmen on Underground U2. Now we don't read the event conclusion until we've actually completed it. Now let's close this up. So we need the Lords of Death and the Wing Kong Hatchetmen. So I'm just walking over to the giant piles of miniatures. And we've got enough to get everything out there still, which is great. Sorry that they're as far away as they are. And that was the Hatchetmen, I believe, on U2. I'm going to just move Wang back because we need to see U3. I'm going to double check in the quest guide right now. So yep, Lords of Death on U3 and the Wing Kong Hatchetman on U2. Slide Wang up a little bit so you guys can still see. Now I need to kill all of these guys. And we're not in the best situation for that per se, but we talked about it. Wang has a special ability. We will take out his special ability token. I'm going to flip it over to spent, put it on the board just so, and we'll get it closer to the camera so you guys can see that it's spent. And this to remind you guys what Wang is using for weaponry. We're going to take out his Jian and put it in a place where you can see it. What that means now is we need to take some combat actions to kill these guys. And I'll roll the die. After I roll the die, we'll set it up and we'll cut because I want to just go over combat in a little bit more detail for you guys. And this section is already getting a little long, so let's not spend too much time on it. All right. So we've made the roll. We're going to cut right here. Wang's pursuing his main quest, and we'll be right back with combat. And we're back, and as you can see, we've got plenty of enemies on the board chasing around our heroes. Wang is trying to complete his main quest, and while I wasn't planning on showing you guys combat originally with Wang, we've just got into too good of a position to not take advantage of it. Now we've got the Wing Kong Hatchetmen, and I'll just give you guys a close-up on them. Now, as you can see with the Hatchetmen, defense of 3, 3 chi when defeated, strike back of 2. And let's take a look at the Lords of Death. Unfortunately, we didn't get the easy ones. They are also strength of 3, 3 chi when defeated. And we may actually need to use the Fate die. If that is the case, after I complete combat, I will give you a close-up of the Fate track. And remember, there isn't a limit to the amount of actions you can spend. It's the way you spend your die. And we want to be smart and intelligent about it. We need to hit 3+, but we still have 4 guys to kill, which is not that easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is spend one mind die to get a regular skill die and an epic skill die. Now this is not the greatest decision, but we're gonna try it anyway and see what happens. But luckily enough, we scored 3, and as Wang's GN is ranged, we're able to take out one of the hatchet men, and we shall gain 3 chi. I will spend another one of the regular die, and let's try that again. Oof. We've got 2 and a failure. Now it's going to be time to use the fate track, a fate die. It wasn't really what I planned, but we're going to do it anyway because I want to make sure that we can get rid of all of these guys if possible. So I'm going to use the 2 success fate die to defeat this guy and then gain another 3 chi. Now, I'm going to have to roll on the fate track, and I'm going to bring the fate track out onto the board. I know it's not going to be the clearest right now, doing my best with what I have, but I want to at least try to show you guys, and we'll take a closer look at it if need be. I'll roll the die. I roll a wild. Now the wild goes in the first spot, and as we fail in the first spot, it's 3 damage to all the other heroes, which means Jack Burton is going to take 3 damage. And just to get this on camera for you guys, I'll take him out. We're going to deal 3 damage to Jack. He's at 9. He'll drop down to 6. That is the consequence of using the fate die. We did not get a good consequence. I'm going to take it off the board. I've spent my 1 fate die that I can, and we have defeated the enemies. But there are still 2 more, and I've got some other dies to spend. Luckily they're epic die. Now I will spend 2 epic die. Whew, 2 snake eyes, so no good. We do not defeat the Lords of Death. And I've got 1 last try at this. Don't forget, you can only spend 1 fate die per turn. Try it again, and oof, another terrible roll. So nothing went well for Wang with his last 2 attempts there. And that'll be the end of Wang's turn. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to move on to Jack. You saw a little bit more of combat and just the type of stuff will happen as we're completing the main quest. But I want to show you what can happen once you finish a side quest. I think the camera angle is pretty good to show you the whole board there, but we'll just swap some things out and I'll be right back. And we're back. So I've placed Jack Burton on the board. Just for fun, I put his Uzi in his hand so you guys can see it. And we're going to see what we can do about completing the side quest because Jack is surrounded by security guards, and hopefully it goes well for him. First thing we got to do, roll some die and see what we get. Not a great roll for Jack here, as we've got a lot of mind and a lot of spirit, and we need to hit these guys hard. Unfortunately, Jack is solo, so his co-op ability does not work. And we've got Grace, who's here, and her special ability is to auto-pass any skill check. Great ability, but not going to help us out here. Now what we're going to need to do is probably spend 2 die to make sure we've got enough skill die to beat them. Now we need to at least hit once on each die. And we got 1, 2, 3. No, sorry, not 3, 2 and 2 demons, which is not good. But we do have a fate die. This is the wild, which can be used to turn into something else. So I'll use the wild as a 2 success and successfully defeat one of these security guards. We shall remove them from the board. Jack will gain 4 chi. Bring him up to 8. Now I do need to roll the die. Let's see what happens. Now I rolled the 2 body, and just to remind you guys quickly, I'm going to pick up the fate track. Now, as you can see where it says these are all clear, meaning we passed the fate check. Otherwise, it would be your hero loses 5 chi. There is no penalty to pay. Things are good. Jack's in good shape. The guy's dead, and as he died, there was no strike back actions triggered. We're once again spending 2 die. Ooh, and that was not good. Now, as you can see right here, we rolled 3 demons, 3 misses, which automatically deals 3 damage to the hero. And it now triggers the strike back action. Now we will take a look at the security guard. They're in the same space. They get the strike back action, which is +1 damage for each additional security guard in this space. You're now down to 2 extra damage from the strike back, which we do not get a defense against, which is why it says 2 damage if I'm not mistaken. I will double check that in the rulebook for you guys. For most of the games I played, we always tried to fight at range, not in melee. But that would then leave Jack in that position, and that is the end of Jack's turn. And as we got a lot of stuff going on, I'm going to stop right here. What we'll do is we're going to take a look at the enemy phase. We're going to clean the board up just a little bit, take some of the excess stuff off, and we'll see what happens. So keep it right here, and I'll be right back. Now, I just want to add a clarification for you guys. Remember when I moved these enemies into this space to be directly next to Jack Burton? Well, I wouldn't have had to do that. I did make the mistake is that when you are fighting a ranged enemy, their strike back action will still trigger if you do happen to miss. Now you may be wondering why Wang did not trigger any type of strike back action from the Lords of Death. Well, the Lords of Death have, and we'll get you the card, a melee attack, and the security guards have a ranged attack. So if you fail at your ranged attack against a ranged minion, you will trigger a strike back action. So there's been no mistakes made on showing you guys how to play. I just wanted to add that clarification. We will move this guy back into his space because whether he moved or not, it didn't really matter. And we're going to get into the enemy phase right now. This is the enemy phase for turn 2. Keep it right here. Be right back. And we are now at the enemy phase. And this is actually a great example because you might be wondering what I'm going to do with these Lords of Death right here that spawn in S8. Well, remember as we said when we were talking about the board, enemies cannot enter these red spaces. So any enemy that spawns in the streets will forever be in the streets. They will move towards the closest hero, but they will not be able to like go inside, for example, to engage them. They're going to be outside. So in this case of these 3 Lords of Death, they're going to move 3. They're going to move 1, 2, 3. They're going to surround Jack and make it more difficult for him to get out of that situation. Remember, there is no line of sight through this door, so it's not like Jack can just actually shoot them through the door, no problem. And like I said, they can't move here. Otherwise, these enemies would have made more sense for them to drop down on Wang, which they're not able to do. And that will be their turn. But as I'm moving Lords of Death, we'll continue. We're going to move 1, 2. 1, 2. I could have moved a little bit further, up to the maximum of 3, but they've engaged Wang. Now they do a total of 3 damage each, which would come out to 6 damage, but we got to see what Wang gets for defense. We roll the defense. Oof. 2 misses. Nothing good from there. We roll again. 2 successes for a total of 4 damage. Now Wang was at 10 health, and I'm going to move him down to 6. We'll show you guys on camera just so that you guys can see everything. Alright, so Wang is now at 6 health. We've covered the Lords of Death. We're going to continue on with the Wing Kong 6-shooter. He only moves 1, so he just moves up further towards Jack Burton. And now we get the action of the security guard, and hopefully Jack's going to roll well, otherwise he's going to die. Now, he has 1 automatic success from Miss Gracie Law, and we've got our other defensive die. We roll, and it is a demon. Well, the good thing about this is we're going to actually be able to show you what happens when you die. Now, you can't quite see it so I will grab the deck. What we're going to do is we take a hell card. Now you keep playing, the game doesn't stop, the hero will draw the top hell card, and you will suffer the effect. Now, so hell of long risk suffering, enough is enough, it's time to force change. Level up right now, from now on always gain 1 less chi from all chi rewards. You may not discard this hell card for the rest of the game. You may gain another hell card, but still keep this one. Well, this is a very, very bad card. Now we'll show you what's good. So that means that from now on, whenever Jack kills somebody, he gains 1 less chi. And even though there's the Buddha shrine right here, which lets you discard the hell, you're not able to get rid of it. The good thing is that he will level up right away. So when we come back, he's going to be level 3. And fairly close to getting up to level 4, but it's really going to weaken him. So this card will then go next to his hero board. So we'll take that out and put it just on his hero board, which is off camera. We're going to be coming back with the start of the next turn, because I really want to show you guys just sort of the main quest. I've taught you guys sort of how to play and you've seen everything, but the main quest and the bosses are the next really big thing. So we'll probably be able to wrap up all this main quest stuff and show you at least a boss combat before we flip over the board. Keep it right here. Now before we take a look at Wang's turn, I'm just going to quickly take a look at the Big Trouble card and we'll get this set up first and foremost. So Big Trouble in Little China. Each hero loses 2 health, so each hero is going to be starting at less health. And we move the Big Trouble track up 2. And we spawn 2 Lords of Death and 1 Guardian in S7. So we have S7 right here. And I don't have any Lords of Death nearby. I've got the 1 right here. I'm going to grab the other one. Fortunately, there are still some left. And that is the setup part for the start of this next turn, and I'll be right back with Wang. Keep it right here. Now, as you can see, I've gone ahead and set up Wang because I actually thought that I would be moving on to Act 2 by now, but we're kind of cruising through this main quest and I'm having a good time teaching you guys how to play the game. So I really want to try to show you guys the ending of this main quest. And I know I can start with Jack, but Wang's a little bit more important right now. Now we'll roll the die. We've got 2 Spirit and 2 Mind. Now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to do my best to defeat both of these guys, even though it's going to maybe not get it, maybe spend more die than I'd like, but you don't want to take too many chances. So we'll take 2 die, which will give me a total of 2 epic and 1 regular. We'll roll for the damage. Oh, that time there was no problem. Just smoke that Lord of Death. Gain another 3 chi, which brings me up to 9. We'll do the same thing again. And we'll take out the last one, which will allow Wang to level up. We have 2 experience in the next level. Then just flip this over. And we get the option of another die, another card, or flipping a card to epic. As we only have the 1 card here, his item, we are not able to flip a card to epic. And one thing I've found is more die is always the best. And as you don't stop your turn, when you level up, you gain a die, you get to roll it. And essentially get another mind die that we're able to use this turn. And let's take a look at the quest book, because we have completed the quest. And I haven't been doing it. It's not the biggest deal with the main quest or even any of the kill quests, unless you get a lot of extra stuff that spawns. You can use the nice check marks just to keep track of what's going on. And I'll just show you what it looks like. What we will do is we'll take a look at how we would perform task actions, potentially with 2 different characters later on. But we'll continue on with the main quest, as that's the main reason why I'm still going through this. We're at 3.4. All right. We jumped ahead. Sorry about that. 3.4, sewer fight continued. So come back here and fight with honor. Man, it smells worse in the toilets after Uncle Chu's Saturday night Szechuan special. I remember seeing that sword in the shrine, but the monks always told me not to touch it. Why would the Wing Kong want to steal this particular sword? I can't explain it, but I feel a strange desire to have that weapon in my hands. Now, I did read 3.4, but I forgot to read the event conclusion. So I'm going to jump back here. You may have won the first round, but one of the Wing Kong gets away holding what appears to be a very old, valuable sword from the shrine. You take chase, following him deeper into the sewers. So that's why he's talking about the sword. I'm trying to get it back. Now we'll continue reading. Appearing to have a change of heart, the thug turns around and readies for battle, dropping his hatchet and unsheathing his sword. The blade emits an eerie red aura, the same color that is coming from your enemy's eye. This may be a more difficult fight. Take down the thug and claim the supernatural sword. Spawn a Hatchet Man on Underground U5. This Hatchet Man is using the magical dragon sword, which gives him +3 attack and +3 defense. So he's going to be very difficult to defeat. Now, U5 is all the way across from Wang. You guys can't see it. I am going to take the Hatchet Man though, as you can see right here. I'm placing him properly on the board. When it comes time to do the finale of the quest, the Hatchet Man's actually going to have moves, so it's going to be a lot clearer. What I'll do right now is, as we've completed Wang's section of the game, there's a couple different things that I can do. For example, I could move down here. Let's get Wang's stuff out of here. We don't need it for the moment. I could move towards the Hatchet Man who is over there, but his movement is a total of 1, 2. Now, I do have ranged combat, which means I can just actually pelt him from anywhere within line of sight. I technically have line of sight on him right now. The only thing is he has 6 defense, meaning it's going to be hard to get that strike on him with just 1 die. Now, what you are able to do, you may spend a die if you want an arrest action to either heal or gain chi. So I can gain 1 chi. Now, I'm going to move Wang's chi up. I'm bringing the board back for you guys. I'm going to move it up. We spent the die. Now that is the end of Wang's turn. So I'll cut it right here and we'll come back with Jack. Now we covered Wang's turn, we're back with Jack Burton. And the one thing I didn't do is I didn't level him up from his hell. So Jack is level 3, and he's still at 8, and I'm taking the extra die. I'm always going to be taking the extra die. It just gives you more things to do. I rolled a 5 dice. We got the body, and more mine than I know what to do with. At least I get up to an epic die. Now, I'm not going to completely finish off Jack's turn, because he's just going to get in trouble and we're just going to watch guys massacre him, and that's not really something I want to focus on for the rest of this sort of how to play. Now, the first thing we'll do is we're going to take 2 epic die and 2 regular die, and we're just going to try to finish off our boy here. And well, we got lucky, we got the 4. Security guard dies. I now gain 1 less chi for a total of 3. Still puts me up, and Jack will go up to another level. Jack is now level 4, and he can gain a new card. The one I've always enjoyed so far is the CB radio. We'll throw on the CB radio. Now Jack has 3 more things that he can do. You're going to have to spend 1 action. Actually, you know what? I wasn't going to finish the turn. Let's just go through it. And don't forget, we've completed the quest, which gains us 1 audacity. As you can see, though, the Big Trouble track is moving up a lot quicker than the audacity track. We then remove the side quest from the board. We then spawn a new one, which is Gracie's pad. It will start and And I knocked over Jack, but it starts over here in Gracie. Oh, wait, no. Egg Fooling Tours. Gracie's pad 1, and we spawn another crate on S3, which means getting that spot, not a bad thing. But let's see what happens to Jack. Jack is going to move out there. That's going to cost him a die. We'll try to gun down some of these guys. Hopefully not get killed. They do only have 3 to... Oof. We fail the attack, which triggers a strike back of 2 damage to Jack. We can try one more time. And I keep moving this. And there we go. We actually do kill one of these guys for a total of 2 chi. Bringing Jack up to 3, and that's the end of his turn. Well, what I'm going to do right now, I want to show you guys sort of task action, boss combat, and finishing up a main quest. So I'm going to reposition everything. We're going to focus in on Wang and him completing his main quest. Then I'll take you guys through an example of a task action, putting the 2 guys together, and then show you a boss fight. And it'll be a little bit like we're actually playing the game when it comes to the boss fight and stuff, because we're going to get a chance to maybe finish Wang's quest here and go, him and Jack can face the guy together powered up. All right, so keep it right here. I'll be right back. Now reposition the board. As you can see, the focus is all on Wang because the way things worked out, we're about to have him complete his main quest. And that's one of the last things I want to show you before we take a quick look at what Act 2 may look like. What we're going to do is we will resolve the enemy phase, draw the Big Trouble card, but we're going to ignore everything that has to do with Jack. I still want to show just how much trouble Jack is actually going to be in, just to give you guys still a good idea of how things are going to play out. Now, we move these characters, so the Lords of Death and the Guardian, you can see from their cards, I'm not bringing their cards up, but they have a movement of 3, bringing him to the same place as Jack, meaning he's got 5 guys to defend against. Oof, not good. We will also move the Wing Kong 6-shooter 1 space, and the Hatchet Man has a movement of 2, bringing him up to U3. All right, so Jack's in trouble, but Wang's about to complete his main quest. I'm just fixing the token, and we're gonna get some more Audacity. So let's see what happens. So we get this Big Trouble card, Hell on Earth. Lopan's plans must be progressing because all hell is breaking loose, literally. His magic is throwing the dimensions out of balance, allowing portals to hell to open up on the streets of Chinatown. So, hell portals open on space S4, S6, and S15. Heroes on or adjacent to these spaces gain a new hell card, replacing any hell cards already held. Do not raise threat. Minions on or adjacent to these spaces are removed. So let's see what that would be. S4. S4 is there. We're good. S6. We are all crowded on S2, S6. Nope. And S15 is over here. So not much to worry about. There is going to be a Wing Kong Hatchet Man that shows up on S6. So we will add that onto the board. Now this card actually could have been pretty cool because it says replace any hell cards already held, meaning you can get rid of that hell card that Jack had, even though it says there's no way for you to get rid of it. Whenever you're reading text on the card, the text on the card will supersede everything. And I did forget when Jack died, we were supposed to move the Big Trouble track ahead by 1, so it actually should have been here, and we'll move it up by 2. So as you can see, Lopan's getting close to completing his plan. We will remove the card and get back to what we really want to see, Wang completing his main quest. And the first thing we're going to do is roll the 5 die, and so that was 4 and 5, and see what we get. We got 2 spirit, 1 body, and 2 mind. Now that's a very, very good roll, meaning we can actually take these 3 out and start with 3 epic die, and we can actually get a total of 4 epic die. Now, a mistake I realized I made, I forgot that we get +1 to all combat. Sorry, +1 white die to all combat actions with Wang. So we're already rolling with a total of 5 die. That's very strong. We're in a good position. I think it should be enough to get that 6+ that we need. So let's roll it. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exactly what we needed. The Wing Kong Hatchet Man is defeated. I'm gonna move these dice out of the way. We gain, not up there yet, sorry. We gain 1, 2, 3 chi from that. And now let's take a look at the book. And we will get to 3.4. So the event conclusion. After a difficult fight, your Wing Kong enemy is down for the count, and you reach for the exquisite sword. As your hand meets the dragon-shaped hilt, a jolt of energy courses through your body, accompanied by the memory of this very sword, tearing over an ancient, bloody field of fallen foes. In the blade's gleaming reflection, you're certain that the man holding the sword is none other than Genghis Khan. A blink of the eyes brings you back to reality. You look at the impressive weapon in your hands and are startled to see that instead of red, the dragon sword is now glowing a brilliant green. You can feel the Khan's presence in your grip, and you instinctively know that this is truly a powerful blade. You return it to the Buddha shrine, but not right now, to help you get Miao Yin back safe and sound. Quest rewards +3 audacity, and Wang gains the dragon sword reward card. Now we will move up to audacity, meaning both players shall gain another 5 chi, bringing Wang almost to leveling up. He's 1 away. And you can see he gains the dragon sword, which is great. It's +2 epic combat die, and after attacking, Wang may immediately move to the targeted enemy space, giving them some pretty cool movement abilities. We've now completed the quest. We no longer need the main quest card. I will move it off. And you can see the value of completing our objectives and the main quests. Now Wang still has 2 die, and this gives me a good opportunity just to show you a little bit of how you can move underground. And where do we want to go? Where can we be the most use? Well, it's not the greatest thing. Well, we're down in the underground. We can spend a die to move and pop out anywhere. So we can go ahead and go pop out here. But don't forget, we did fast travel in the underground, which means we got to roll a die to fast travel. It's a demon, which means Wang will take 5 damage. Oof, down to 1 hit point. Now we can attack like a beast though. So for 1 regular die, we get a total of 3 epic die. And another die from our good friend Eddie. I think the 6 shooter's going down. And we've rolled a total of more than enough. It was a total of 5 we need. We've gotten 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which will defeat the Wing Kong 6 shooter and gain us another 4 chi. Leveling up Wang one more time. We can pick another ability, and I think I want some defense. So we will take the Dragon of the Blackpool Jacket, which gives him +1 defense die. All right, so we've taken a look at how you resolve a main quest. We could go through more, but I don't want to do too much more. Or I'm going to just sort of clear the board. I like the visual we have going on right now, but we're going to go through a boss fight as well as task actions. So keep it right here. We'll set some stuff back up, and we'll be right back. Now, for the purpose of showing you guys the task action as well as a boss combat, what I'm going to do is we're going to have Wang trigger the quest at the Buddha Shrine. It would have been the boss quest, the next quest that would have shown up. And to keep things clean and neat, I've just sort of removed everything else from the board except for some of the tokens. Now, let's take a quick look at what would happen. Now, I'm not going to read through everything. We did that before, but the quest Dark and Stormy Night would be 13.1. We will go to that page. On 12, so 13.1. Now, as you can see right here, we get a choice. So choice would be to either attempt a skill check or a task action. Now, a task action is completed by spending the required dice to complete the task. Now, what I've done, just to give you guys an example of what you can do, I've moved the companions. Eddie and Gracie will just pretend that it's like a one-player game where I only have 2 companions. Maybe I'm trying to make it harder on myself. And there's a couple different options. So we'll say we started the quest. We're doing great. The board's empty. I got 5 die. I'm level 4. We roll. Boom. Now, we've got the mind, body, and spirit. Now, there are 2 different options that I have. Won't forget the other mind. I could spend these dies, which would then let me place the appropriate check marks on the card to complete it. Now, please note, if you are doing this with another player, you guys can split up the die, so one can spend 1 die, one can spend 3, each can spend 2 during that hero phase to complete the quest. Now, if you're thinking though about what happens once you complete the quest, you know we're going to have something else happen, and it's probably going to be something not the greatest because it looks like we're going to spawn a boss. So do I really want to spend 4 of my dice, weaken my character by that much, and then spawn a boss? Not really. And this just gives us a perfect example of why having the companions is so important in a lower player count. We can use the special ability of, for example, Eddie, to complete any task action. So boom, we are full of dice. The task action is completed. We would then move on to 13.2. Now, what do we get from completing choice B? That is +1 audacity, which is great. Then we would slide the quest down to 13.2, because I'm not going to read anything. You would spawn rain on Buddha Shrine 13.1. So, we would then have rain. The boss appears in the same space as Wang. Now, I just want to say I may be making some small mistakes here just in terms of some of the spawning, because I am trying to get through all of this for you guys at a reasonable rate. We will now take out Rain's character, and I'm going to move the quest away. We will set up Rain so you can see him. He's the boss we're going to be facing, and we will set his health at the 1 to 2 mark so you can see what's going on. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move Rain over just a little bit so you can see him better. The space that we're in doesn't actually matter. I just want to make sure you can see him. I don't want to do anything else because I like keeping this in smaller chunks for those of you looking for specific things. I'm going to cut right here. We're going to go over boss combat, and then I'll be right back. Now, we need to engage the boss. And as you can see right here, he's got two hits. Meaning we need to hit him twice, and as you can see right here, his defense is 6, for a total of 6 each time in order to defeat him. Now, we will suffer a strike back. He is a ranged character, so he can hit us even from range. So that's a little bit challenging. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, fortunately, Wang is very strong, and just on a regular combat roll, by spending 1 die, we get all of these die, meaning the thing we need to worry about the most is the strike back. What I'll probably do actually is spend 1 epic and 1 regular die to add those into our ability pool, and let's just roll and see what we get. So 2, 4, 6. Thought we were very fortunate. We successfully hit Rain for 1 damage, and whenever you hit a boss you gain the chi. We gain 4 chi, bringing Wang up to 7. Now you want to make sure you kill the boss And because of that, I'm going to spend all the same amount of die again. And I actually didn't roll the correct amount of die last time, but that's not that big of a deal because I have a minimum of 3 epics, so I probably forgot one. I now spent an epic die and 2 regular. So this is the correct amount that I should have rolled last time, but it doesn't really matter. We roll the dice. We fortunately have well over 6 there. 3, 4, 5, 6. Just a little bit of overkill because Wang is so powerful from completing his main quest. Rain is defeated, but when Rain is defeated, he has a special ability which summons Acid Rain, dealing 2 damage to the heroes, meaning Wang would die and we would need to draw a Hell card, which is the negative aspect of it. I will reach over and draw a Hell card. I'm not going to go through it. Just to show you guys that he would be suffering from a Hell, I'll put it there. He is in the Buddha Shrine, meaning if Wang had another die to spend or 2, if he moved, he could spend it and get rid of the Hell potentially. Alright, so we've shown you guys boss combat, task actions. You've seen skill actions. Now let's take a look at what happens when we set up the other side of the board. And we'll take a quick look at Act 2. So keep it right here and we'll be right back. Now we've arrived at the final part of our how to play, the Act 2 setup. Now as you can see, I've only left out the stuff that I could potentially need and the die because I just like seeing how many die we get in the game. And we flip the board over, we're ready to get going. Now you'll notice the Hell cards are still in play, but the Big Trouble cards are nowhere to be seen. We just have the Big Trouble track. You will take your Big Trouble token and place it in between the 1 to 4 area here based on the number of players. With 2 players, we start at 5. Now, the next thing we have here are the quest cards. You notice some of them say, well, Act 2 Showdown either as the Audacity track or the Big Trouble track. Then we've got incomplete quests or completed quests. And just to give you an idea, we're not going to take a look too long at it. Let's say look at this one. As you can see, the quests are different depending on whether they were completed or not. Now, with regards to where we were at, I would say with the Act 2 Showdown setup, it would have been the Big Trouble track. Lopan was kicking our butt. We did not face lightning, so when you are doing the setup, you do need the 3 boss quests. So automatically, 2 of them are going to be incomplete, meaning Calm Before the Storm is incomplete. Back Alley Bedlam, as we did not face Thunder, is incomplete. And a Dark and Stormy Night, we did defeat Rain, would mean it was completed. Then just based on the way things were going, I would say we did not complete Jack Burton's main quest, but we did complete the quest for the Dragon Sword, Wang's quest, and we are now done with the information we need for the quest setup. Now we'll go through the cards one by one. Let's take a look at the quest for the Dragon Sword. Now as Wang succeeded, what we're going to do is we're going to place Wang in 3L9. And I'm going to put these cards next to the board because they are still important. Wang is at 3L9. We have 2 Spirit Pass Warriors, one on 1L6 and 1L15. So in order to finish this up, I'm going to pick up the cards as the other guy is going to be in the basement here at 1L15. Now, there is a special quest effect that Wang is going to get for the rest of the game. So he gets ×2 successes when fighting Spirit Path Warriors, and he needs to defeat, or not him, sorry, the party needs to defeat 2 Spirit Path Warriors to complete this quest. Now, what you need to do is to complete a certain number of quests in order to be able to access the arena. You can see the information is here on this part of the board. In the case of a 2-player game, it is 1 quest that needs to be completed. Now let's take a look at what's going to happen with Jack Burton. So we'll look at Son of a Bitch Must Pay. In this case, Jack starts on 1L1. came down the in the fish just like in the movie. We have 3 Lords of Death on 1L12 as you can see. So that's 1, 2, 3. 2 of them, and we'll get the 3rd there. And now with regards to this, the Lords of Death are following you in through the sewer. Spawn 2 Lords of Death, 1L12 at the end of each round. So until this has been done, until that you block their way, this quest effect is constantly going to be happening. Now, it's not that big of a worry because the guys cannot necessarily move levels, but don't forget we've got this other quest in play. I'm going to just move these minis up out of the way here a little bit. They slide off camera, I apologize. So the next one is a dark and stormy night. So rain does not spawn. What happens is the bottom level is flooded with water. It costs 1 extra movement point per space to move. That's really annoying. You can complete the quest by stopping the water in space 1L4. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a quest marker in 1L4. You don't have to, it's not required. It's just something that I think helps keep things a little bit cleaner. Now if we're looking at Back Alley Bedlam, the quest is to defeat Thunder, and he will start in 3L9. Now let's find him. There he is. So he starts on the same space as Wang. For the calm before the storm, lightning starts in 2L6, and as he starts in 2L, you'll notice there is no key. This is not a quest that we can actually complete. I'm just going to put it over here so it's still on camera. Now we've gone ahead and set up all of this. Now we're going to take a look at the Act 2 Showdown setup. And now we're going to follow the instructions here. So now we're going to spawn David Lopan in 2L10. So he's starting on his throne. Next, we're at 1 player. It's a Spirit Path Warrior in 2L8. Now there's only 1 of these guys left. He starts there defending Lopan. And then the next thing we get is the 2 security guards in 2L3. Now you'll notice that I just took the card and I got rid of it. Now the reason for that is we actually don't need it. It's all set up. We're not going to be, there's no quest to complete with regards to this. So we are now ready to go, and our heroes need to get into the base and they need to defeat David Lopan. Now what is going to happen, and we'll take a quick look once again at David Lopan's villain card, is you have to defeat him when he is in his ghost form. After you've finally gotten to the point where you would flip him over, you will flip him over. You're going to follow the instructions, and Lopan is going to move to the upper level just like he did in the movie based on a die rolls where he's going to be. So he'll end up moving somewhere up here, and you will then have to defeat him. And that's it. That's how you set up Act 2. That's how you're going to win the game. Don't forget you got to complete X amount of quests depending on the number of players to get into the arena to engage them. And you got to do it before the Big Trouble track hits game over. Now, we've covered the whole game. This has been a long review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's take a look at our actual review of the game as Julie and I are going to talk about it. Keep it right here. Now, before I toss it off to Julie to let you guys know what her thoughts are, I just wanted to say for those of you that responded on social media, thank you very much. If you do happen to hear a little clickety click click, that's because our fuzzball decided that she wants to be heard during the recording of this video. I know it's a little bit eclectic, that's why I'm wearing a different shirt. But Julie did want to be part of this review for you guys, so we're reviewing it now. And I still haven't finished putting the whole video together, but once you see this, it's all going to be done. Now I'm going to toss it to Julie. Tell us, what do you think of Big Trouble in Little China, the game?
A lot better than the movie. I fell asleep when we watched the movie. It wasn't for me, it didn't hold up. That's my movie review snippet into this review. As for the game, the first part of it, when we first started playing and our character, I guess as we were getting to the feel of our characters, I wasn't sure I loved it, was having trouble getting the mechanics. I did love the board. I love the layout, the design of your character board where you put your dice as you're rolling.
Well, I think not to just jump in there, but the first time we played, I think we also made the mistake, right, of going after the side quests.
Yeah, we did a lot of side quests. The second half, I felt like when we got into the lair, I felt like we were maybe a little too powerful, and it felt maybe a little too easy. But it was a good, fun, cooperative game that I enjoyed. I enjoyed having the female character and getting to kick a little bit of butt.
What'd you think of Egg, your magic user? You always love your mages.
Yeah, he wasn't the strongest mage I've ever played with, and I found that his special power wasn't that special. But some of the extra cards that we got with him, as I started racking up the different levels of power, made him a lot more interesting. I was gonna say the character. I think I don't know if you've spoke to it since we haven't done this review together. Yes. But the character that you had, and I forget his name now. Wang is definitely very important, and you have to play with that character because he was clutch at the end. Once he powers up, he really does make a big difference.
It is almost to the point that he's overpowered. If you want a more challenging experience, I say play without Wang. If you want to play with fun and you really need to clear large swaths of characters, which became very important towards the latter half of the game, Wang is essential.
Yeah, I don't think you have to love, for this IP, I don't think you have to love the IP. I think it's an interesting concept, and I like the game in and of itself. Geez, that was hard to get out. And it was fun. It was fun to play. I think we had a lot of fun. The power went out at some point. We brought down the battery-powered lanterns and kept playing.
Yes,
so
that's true.
I think that's a testament to the fact that I'm enjoying myself, because otherwise I would have used the excuse to say, yeah, let's do something else instead. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, the one thing I did want to say is that, because you mentioned that you don't need to love the IP, what did you think about the quest, though, and just some of that flavor text that they sort of expanded the IP? Did that make it a little bit more palatable to you than what you saw in the movie?
Yeah, and I think that's what I was going to say. That didn't come across, I'm sorry, and thanks for having it pointed. I enjoyed the quest, I enjoyed the game without necessarily having to love the movie. I slept to a good part of the movie, and I still enjoyed the game and enjoyed those quests. So I think that was a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed the side quests a lot, even though they didn't help us any in the first half. I did enjoy doing them. Maybe we wasted our resource or time more than anything, but I did enjoy those quests.
Well, I think that's one thing that we can both agree, and we're going to talk about the side quests, and I'll get into the rest of my comments on the game. But I think the side quests are not used properly. I think they're a very cool element of the game, but the rewards don't match up enough with the main quest rewards, that if you get bogged down completing the side quest, you don't get enough audacity. The big trouble track flips first, and you're losing about 10 chi. As we saw later on, that chi, unless you're like over level 6 with all of your cards, is so important. Mm-hmm. It makes the game a lot easier. If you're under leveled, you're going to be finding yourself in situations where there's going to be too many enemies and there's not going to be much that you can do. I think the one thing that we can both agree on with regards to gameplay is, and it's something you didn't talk about, is using your dice properly and conserving them is key. And you need to take the extra dice when you level up. Giving you the opportunity to flip a card to epic or pick another card is really just giving you the option to make the game harder. If you do not have, by the end of the game, 5 or 6 die, depending on if you're playing with less amount of players, you're not going to be able to succeed. You really do need those extra 5 dice, because once you're powered up, that means you can start killing enemies without having them trigger the strike back. And we didn't make a mistake when we played. We weren't using the range strike back, and that's something you need to take into account. If you miss at range, they will shoot you, it will hurt, and in our playthrough that would have made things a lot more difficult.
Okay, well, and that's what I found. We were a little too overpowered in the second half, and that probably explains why.
Yeah, that could be why we were having a little bit too easy of a time, but it didn't really affect, like I said, our experience with the game. And from watching and enjoying the movie, I do like how this sort of takes those key concepts and really fleshes it out. It gives us a lot more background as to what's going on in Chinatown, and almost gives you an idea of what if Big Trouble in Little China was like a TV series. And not a long one, but like one season. This was one arc, and you got to spend a lot more time with these characters. All the quests were very thematic. While expanding on the IP, they never felt like they were taking completely from outside the IP and just throwing it. Everything worked very well. well. I really enjoyed the way that all of the villains had sort of that thematic element to them from the movie. They had their special abilities, which matched well with their powers, and even some key scenes from the movie. Not going to spoil it for you guys, but Thunder in particular is power ties very much in the way you see with the movie. And I do like the fact that we had to beat Lopan twice. Now that can be very hard in the second half of the game, especially if the third level isn't cleared out and you've still got some big baddies to defeat. But don't forget there is the timer, so you're not always going to do everything optimally. And one thing we didn't talk about, what did you think about death in the game? I like the fact that when you die, it just kind of slows you down, that it doesn't take you like out of the game.
I didn't die, so.
You didn't die? What do you think about that mechanic though, the fact that you just get that?
Well, I think it's well balanced because there's no real way to get your health back. It's a lot harder to get your health unless you have the remedy potion, and there's not that many of them.
No, it was difficult. It was very difficult to get items while completing main quests. Thank you for mentioning the items. I do like the items. I do like the crates. They're great, but I'd say the biggest detractor to the game, and then we'll move into our reviews because Julie covered a lot of what I liked. I don't want to repeat myself. The biggest detractor is the Big Trouble track. I think the game progresses too quickly for you to enjoy all of the game. Now, that is good because it lets you replay the game a lot in different fashions, but you're not going to necessarily get all the items. You're not necessarily going to be able to complete all the side quests. Unless you play this game a lot, I think you might not ever see any of this, like not any of them, but you might not even see a third of the side quests through about 5 or 6 playthroughs unless you make a point of going out and completing them. Now that could be different if this game had the 5 to 6 player expansion. And that's one thing I want to ask you. Do you think the game would have flowed better with 6 characters? So for example, when we played, if we'd each played 3 characters, do you think we would have got to experience a little bit more of what the game has to offer?
Maybe, but I think at least for the first time playing, playing with 2 characters was good. I wouldn't have wanted a 3rd character. Maybe, you know, as we progress in this game, you know, gets a little bit easier for us, then maybe I would have added a 3rd. I think it might be fun to play as, you know, 3 players with 2 each.
No, that's what I meant. Having the 2 extra characters.
I wouldn't have done 3 personally. I wouldn't have played with 3, but it would be interesting to play with 3 or 4 people and getting those extra characters in. Yes, I think it would have been nice. I think sometimes it felt like it would have been nice to have a extra playthrough on a round before the baddies hit us back.
Yeah, no, I think that's where we can leave it then. I think we'll give our score of the game. I'm going to give the game a solid 7. It is a good cooperative game, but the time element, the Big Trouble track, and the fact that you don't get to experience all of it is a big detractor for me. It's something that I will definitely get to the table. It's something that I will play again. And my 7 isn't based on how much fun I had with the game. That's based on just my overall impression of the game. Sometimes you see me giving a score that's maybe a little bit higher because maybe I like the mechanics and I think the game pulls it off even though I don't love it. This is a game that I love and it's easy to convince me to play, but the mechanics don't always flow the best together.
I get you. I have a 7 just as well, but because I don't think I fell in love as much with the IP as you did. I think I get pulled in. I've gotten pulled in by other IP where I've just wanted to play, even though maybe the mechanics are better in this game. For me, when I give my score, I'm thinking as well of how much I want to play again. And this was fun, but there are other games that I would want to play again before playing this one.
And I know we've yet to review the game. We'll probably get to it, or at least part of it at some point when she talks about getting sucked in. She likes mages. Any of you guys that have been following the channel knows she likes mages. We played Star Wars Imperial Assault. She was the Wookiee. She played like a Wookiee. So that's just to give you an idea of where she's coming from.
Yeah.
Now,
so that was my rating. We gave our ratings.
Yep. So guys, you should be seeing shortly links to the movie review and our most recent upload are going to be popping up above our heads. As always, here on Dice and Dragons, you can find links to our social media feeds down below in the video description. And grab your drink, grab your buddy, and hug your furry friend, your fuzzball.
Very important.
Yes. I'll let you take it out.
Why? You can take it out.
Keep playing games.
Keep playing games.
You Did you trip on yourself?
I did. I'm impersonating a dog.
You're impersonating a dog?
It's better.
Really?
Yeah.
Like this?
No.